Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Professor Ipshita Bansal from BPS Women's University, Sonipat. Today, we are going to discuss about the module Importance and Steps of Reading Proficiency under the paper Business Communication. By the end of this module, students will be able to understand first what reading is, second, will be able to know the importance of reading in our personal and professional life, and third, will be able to learn what are the steps of reading for better understanding of content. George R. Martin has stated, "A reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only one." Reading is a process of acquiring information in a meaningful way. Some view reading as a complex process integrating all aspects of human behavior and demanding varied and continued instructional guidance to read accurately, to appraise and to relate to others in a significant way. Reading is a part of learning process through which we get to know many things in the world. You have been reading various materials for various purposes, and whenever purpose varies, the attitude varies. To become an effective communicator, it is essential to polish reading skills. Reading is generally considered as a cornerstone of success throughout the adult life of an individual. So, what is the importance of reading? In the words of Charles W. Illo, books are the quietest and the most constant of friends. They are the most accessible and wisest of counselors, and the most patient of teachers. Reading is a complex cognitive activity that is indispensable for adequate functioning in society. To enter the literate society, people must know how to learn through reading. In our digital age, knowledge is constantly updated and upgraded, wherein previous information is considered obsolete very quickly. With the advent of the internet, information can be transmitted anywhere in the world with the blink of an eye. To make use of such vast pool of knowledge, it is very important to inculcate good reading habits. Reading plays a vital role in effective communication. Depending on the activity you are supposed to perform after reading the target text, reading has to adapt different skills. The skills involved are the speed, time, accuracy, and purpose involved during reading. If you are reading for pleasure or reading casually, like reading newspaper daily, you do not have to apply specialized skills. But if you are reading to produce an output of reading, specialized skills are required. Practicing reading skills enable a person to grasp ideas, follow opinions, and sense connotation in a better manner. Extensive reading helps a person develop strong vocabulary. The importance of reading can be seen in all phases of life and in all professions. Importance of reading can be seen in many spheres of life. First, relating to new things. Second, self-improvement. Third, improving social skills. Fourth, preparation for action. Fifth, learning from great people. Sixth, background for conversation. And seventh, boosting reason and intuition. Let's now discuss these in detail. First is relating to new things. Through reading, the person can connect to fresh things, recent information, innovative ways to solve a problem, and novel ways to achieve success in life. It may happen that people might find their new hobbies through reading, or explore new things which are liked most by the individual later on, and it may end up becoming one's career or a source of great pleasure in future. Thus, exploration begins through reading and understanding. Second importance is self-improvement. Reading not only helps in understanding the world more, but also facilitate in improving one's own self. Through reading, people begin to have a greater understanding of a topic that interests them. Reading makes a person more knowledgeable, thus building self-confidence, accomplishing the habit of self-control, motivating one's own self, better planning and decision making. Through reading, one can create a well thought out path towards a better and improved self capacity of taking better actions in the future. Third, improving social skills. Reading increases the understanding of life. It helps to know about the surrounding, the people, the trends, and the ups and downs of life. Reading assists in learning the art of empathizing and also helps in better adjustment into the society. Fourth importance of reading is preparation for action. Reading is an initial step of numerous things which helps in taking concrete steps for action. Before starting any task, it is important to know the background of the place and the people. Also, before purchasing a product, it is required to recognize all the possible options available for the satisfaction that you have purchased the best available thing. Despite this, reading the manual before using a gadget plays an important role for the better usage. In today's world, everything is available to read either online or offline. So prior to taking any action for any type of work, reading is an essential thing, as this can help you become more prepared before you really get into it. Next is learning from great people. When you are reading, you are actually gaining the knowledge and experience of someone, which describes the success and failure of someone. It can hasten your success towards a goal, as you don't need to repeat the same mistake while focusing on the right path for achievement of any. Here, the biographies and autobiographies of great people can help in following the right path as well as provide the great learning for future endeavors. Andre Moises says, the art of reading is in great part that of acquiring a better understanding of life from one's encounter with it in a book. Sixth importance of reading is provides background for conversation. Reading is a vital part of communication activity. Communicating through reading leads to better understanding and thus to better communication with people. As with person who does not read, knows nothing, so doesn't have much to share in addition to this, even do not understand what other people are sharing. Reading facilitates in building a more solid foundation for conversation. It is one of the most important tools we use every day to connect with each other, with the society, with the market, with trends, and with the whole world at large. Seventh importance of reading is that it boosts reason and intuition. Reading exposes people to a world of wisdom. Reading assists in exploring a different outlook to acts on how different actions lead to different results. Reading addresses both left and right brain, balancing of reason and intuition, leading to new structuring, new creativity, new solutions for all confusions and conflicts. It is very important to develop good reading skills, as acquisition of well-developed reading skills is a critically important developmental landmark for children. A substantial body of research highlights the drawbacks associated with delayed or disordered acquisition of reading skills. Let us know now about the poor and good readers. Poor readers tend to continue to struggle with literacy skills. They read less than their peers who are more skilled in reading. As a consequence, poor readers tend to receive less practice in reading. They receive less exposure to content knowledge. They have weak vocabulary and other language skills in comparison to the people who are more skilled in reading. Good readers have strong reading skills. Good readers do not struggle with literacy skills. They identify the written text soon and read more than their peers who lack in reading skills. As good readers identify and read the text fast, they tend to receive more practice in reading. They properly decode the content and therefore receive a good amount of content knowledge. They have strong vocabulary and have the ability to analyze and grasp the ideas expressed. As we can see from the diagram, good readers can determine what's important and essential, which is very important for developing good reading skills. They can use a red sticker for when your inner voice says, "Stop, this is important," versus the interesting written details where you use a green sticker for when your inner voice says, "Neat, but I can let go of it." So good readers are able to identify and cull out what is important and essential for the text, which can be used later on for decision-making purposes. The difference between poor and skilled readers is essentially a difference in skill acquisition. Different type of reading skills contribute to the variation in the performance of poor and skilled readers. These include phonological awareness, decoding abilities, oral reading fluency, reading comprehension, and listening comprehension. A good reading habit is necessary for a healthy intellectual growth that would in turn inspire creative and innovative minds. The studies have shown that the developmental antecedents that lie behind the acquisition of reading skills develop early and prior to the onset of formal schooling. Sometimes it happens that children and even adults find difficulties in reading clearly. There may be various reasons behind this problem. Sometimes people face difficulty in reading not due to illiteracy or lack of knowledge or problem in language, but they find reading difficult due to disabilities in reading, which is known as dyslexia. The diagram classifies reading disabilities into three groups. Some people who suffer from reading disability fall somewhere in the three circles depending on their deficits. Sometimes it happens that people find difficulties in reading clearly. There may be various reasons behind this problem. There are three specific reading deficits: phonological discrepancy, difficulty decoding or collecting words based on their sounds. Second, speed naming discrepancy, slow reading, poor use of sight word. It is a word that is instantly recognized by the reader and requires almost no effort to understand. Third, comprehension discrepancy, poor understanding of what was just read. Dyslexia is a serious problem which leads to the difficulty in reading. People suffering from dyslexia are not able to read and understand things correctly. Dyslexia can be of different kinds, which are shown below. Acquired dyslexia. This type results from shock or injury to that part of the brain that controls reading and writing. Late in life, This can be the result of a tumor or stroke. It is of three types. First is deep dyslexia. Deep dyslexia is an acquired form of dyslexia, that is, it does not result from genetic or hereditary reasons. It symbolizes a failure of person's ability to read, often because of head injury, shock or stroke that affects the left side of the brain. It is distinguished by two things: semantic errors and difficulty in reading. Second is surface dyslexia. According to Nancy Mather and Barbara Wendling in their excellent 2012 book, Essentials of Dyslexia, Assessment and Intervention, surface dyslexia is a type of dyslexia characterized by difficulty with whole world recognition and spelling, especially when the words have irregular spelling sound correspondences. Example, pitch for patch, this for that. Third is visual dyslexia. Visual dyslexia is defined as reading difficulty resulting from vision-related problems. Visual problems will absolutely lead to reading and knowledge trouble. Developmental dyslexia. Developmental dyslexia is an extreme complexity in reading caused due to hereditary or brain-based reasons. First type of developmental dyslexia is phonological dyslexia. Phonological dyslexia is intense intricacy in reading, that is, disability in manipulating the basic sounds of language. The individual sounds of language become sticky, unable to be broken apart, and not easily manipulated. Second type of developmental dyslexia is auditory dyslexia. Auditory dyslexia involves problem in dealing with sounds of letters or groups of letters. Multiple sounds may be used as a singular sound. For example, the word rack will be heard as a single sound rather than something made up of the sounds rack. Single syllable words are especially prone to this problem. There are also some other kinds of dyslexia. One is attentional dyslexia. It is in which children identify letters correctly, but the letters jump between words on the page. Kind wing would be read as wind king. The replacements are not caused by an inability to identify letters or convert them to sounds, but instead result from the movement of letters between words. The first letter of one word switches place with the first letter of another word. Another is directional dyslexia. It is distinguished by left-right confusion and mixing up of similar-looking words. It also means confusion with letters such as P and B or D and B, where there is confusion over the direction of the letter. Thus, the problems with directions are a symptom of this kind of dyslexia. Not all dyslexics have this problem. Dyslexia can be cured with practice, and even sometimes with time, the understanding starts developing and a person can start reading normally. So let's now understand the steps of reading. Reading is an everyday activity, but reading carefully for better understanding involves certain steps in reading. Reading is not only to read out a written passage in any manner, but there are particular steps involved for perfect reading which have to be kept in mind and learned. Let's now review the reading steps in brief. First step is recognition, consisting of surveying and asking questions. Second step is assimilation, consisting of reading and note-making. Third step is retention, consisting of reciting and writing. Fourth and the last step is review, consisting of recalling and communicating. The first step of reading is recognition. This step helps you to recognize the need of reading, what to read, and where to read from. For recognizing the need to read, we must go for doing survey of content and to analyze the requirement of reading. Recognition includes surveying and asking questions. Survey is about reading the foreword and afterword, content page, heading and subheadings, timelines, non-verbal items used in the text, and summary of the book or chapter. It should not be presumed that surveying will substitute reading. Survey is something which only provides an outline. It gives only a bird's eye view of the chapter or the book you propose to read. For example, survey is to know about how many chapters does the book consist of, or how many parts are there of the book, etc. Second, asking questions. After you have had a glimpse of the material, you should begin to ask questions, and the common questions you ought to ask yourself are who, when, what, where, and why. You will be ready to answer these questions if you surveyed properly. You can start posing questions about this chapter in the following way. Why should we read this chapter? What are the major themes of the chapter? How the content is developing? What are the important points of the chapter? The second step of reading is assimilation. Assimilation is absorption and integration of content which will take place by reading the material carefully and making the notes for future reference. Assimilation includes reading and note-making. Reading is the most essential step. If this step of reading will not be properly completed, the first and last step of reading will not be of any value. The reader will be able to answer the questions posed above in the first step completely only when they have read the proposed material with full understanding. Depending on the familiarity of the material and your purpose, you should read it thoroughly. Good and appropriate reading also helps in enhancing the knowledge. For this, with reading, proper note-making is also required. Making notes, writing marginal notes, and underlining or identifying significant ideas are good practices of reading. If necessary, read the content repeatedly until you get clarity. The effective note-making methods are preparing charts, preparing outlines, listing the keywords, preparing mind maps, preparing flashcards, preparing summaries, or preparing timelines. Make sure that you understand the text completely, clearly, and effectively. Only then one should proceed to do any concerned activity. Note-making is all about going through the text carefully and identifying the central idea of each paragraph. That idea becomes the subheading of each paragraph. Then you identify the important points of each paragraph and note them in abbreviations. Third step of reading is retention. Retention can be done by reciting the content or by writing it down. Reciting is the retention test that you are conducting for yourself. You might ask yourself a lot of questions and try to answer those questions, or another way can be to discuss with someone who has already read the material. Here, both the persons can discuss and put their views to have an apparent and thoughtful understanding of the read material. Writing is another way of retention. By writing down all the ideas you could understand to ensure your comprehension and memory power. Conduct reverse engineering of the notes that you have written. This will enable you to analyze where you stand in this exercise. The last step of reading is review. After reading, reviewing should be done to reveal whether you could pay attention to all necessary information or not. Recalling all the steps completed till now of the survey you conducted, the notes you prepared, highlighting what you did in the text, and the marginal notes you made will help you retain the matter in long-term memory. Last step of reading is to communicate or share the knowledge you have gained by reading. Sharing helps in remembering what you read for a long time. Sharing also helps in increasing your knowledge and provides motivation for future reading. Therefore, if the material you are reading needs serious attention and you need to store it in long-term memory, then using these steps of reading is advised. So we can say that reading is breathing in and writing is breathing out. Reading can be an input and writing can be an output. So reading forms the foundation of all the effective communication. Unless we do not read effectively, we do not understand effectively. And so, consequently, we are not able to communicate effectively. The importance of reading in business communication is immense. For example, reading is required in reading advertising copies, trade journals, product specifications, memos, appraisal reports, job descriptions, annual reports, competitors' literature, etc. If one is not skilled at reading properly or effectively, one will not be able to understand well and then produce the output effectively. So let's now summarize what we have studied in this module. Reading is a very important way for people to acquire information and knowledge. It requires many mental and cognitive processes, including attention, pattern recognition, memory, knowledge, reasoning, and problem solving. Reading ability can be described as a straightforward amalgamation of word reading and reading comprehension skills. Since reading is considered a pervasive and vital activity in our lives, a substantial amount of reading from printed pages is a traditional mode of reading. Although the rapid development of computer and information technologies has contributed to the increased volume of material that people can read from computer screens. Reading skills are essentially required to be a good reader. The poor readers lag behind due to the inability to read perfectly. They also lag in decoding and understanding the material. Children face problems in reading at early age but may also recover with this problem as they grow up. The steps of reading help in reading carefully, effectively. It is the step-by-step procedure which assists in having the right outlook while reading the content. It starts with recognizing the need of reading and ends with reviewing the material. To become a competent reader, one must be able to recognize words in order to understand individual sentences as well as to combine their meanings in order to provide an interpretation of the text as a whole. Thank you.